All right, guys, I gotta do this.
Who is that? Who is that?
I gotta go on a call. So can you guys do something else for a little bit?
All right, welcome everyone. Sorry that took me a second there. I got caught up in another room, but I see everybody's joining. And so we'll give everybody just a minute and we'll get going. Meantime, I will get the PowerPoint on the screen.
He's a cool guy. It's funny, we were talking to him about, he's the one that I talk to a lot because he's a speaker, you know, but he's like, because I was a speaker, so we just like, you know, hang out. And he talks about.
Let me find, got to mute a few people, but we'll do that. 1 second. If everybody could mute, that would be great. Just until we get rolling here, we'll open it up for people to talk. So we've got quite a few people who've joined. And it is 1 o'clock, so I'll get started. Thank you for joining and welcome. In these pressing times, I know everybody's very busy. And I appreciate you taking the time to join us. So real quickly, let me just make sure everybody can see. Whoops, that is the wrong one. Hang on a second. So I'm going to be sharing my screen here, and just want to make sure that I am sharing the right screen. So 1 second while I get that going. And we'll get rolling. All right, back to the top here. Okay, so if you've got me on, I'm getting an echo. So if you could mute, if everybody could mute, that would be great. All right, I think everybody's muted. We'll get started here. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join. Hopefully this will be helpful for you. My name's John Best. I am the CEO of Best Innovation Group, and we've invited you because this past week, you know, as things were progressing, I was trying to figure out what to do. And the thing that kind of hit me was that I don't know what to do. And I know that a lot of us are looking for answers, and the big thought I had was collectively it's probably out there. We just need some sort of way to facilitate that. And so we threw this together, and we're thankful for you coming. So I'm not sure. Lawson, Mike, are you here?
I am.
Awesome. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks.
And thank you for joining us. So this is sponsored by CU Broadcast and by Cousins, CUSN. We keep calling them Cousin, but it's the Credit and Service Network. And we're excited to have everyone. There's a lot of folks here. I'll kind of go over the rules of the road here, and then we'll get started. So the format is we've limited the registration to 20 people, and the reason we did that is so everybody will get a chance to talk. I'm going to do a short introduction. I'm going to go over how you communicate with each other, and then we'll turn it over. We're going to try to do it in alphabetical order. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. My son and one of our social media experts, Ryan Best, will be reaching out to you as we go along to make sure that you're okay with speaking, and that you know, you'll know you'll be next. He'll be doing that in the chat, which we'll go over in a minute. If you feel compelled to dig deeper with the topic, for instance, someone mentioned something in the last call, we had someone who was doing electrostatic cleaning, a special company was coming in and doing that. Lots of questions about that. He actually delivered a PDF about that we'll be shipping out or putting in the forum. But interestingly enough, you know, a lot of people reached out to him in the everyone chat. You can also reach out to someone directly, and we'll show you how to do that. If we think that there's something a broader audience should know, you can post that link in the direct chat to everyone. If there's a sense that something comes up, it's worthy of a longer discussion, we'll shift that over to Mike. We already have one of those, I think, being scheduled, right, Mike, with Tom O'Shea?
Yeah, Tom's going to do something.
Or Tom Shea?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they'll be talking about regulations and things like that. So if there's something for the greater good that needs a longer discussion, then we'll have Mike do that on CU Broadcast. This will be recorded and published. So if there's confidential information, we ask that you don't share it. We hope that this will not keep you from being candid. That's what this is about. But we wanted to make sure that you knew we're putting these out there for free. There's already 3 out there, or going to be out there. I think there's 2 right now for sure. And so you're welcome to go and listen to the last ones. We're finding that every one of these, there's something, you know, something new, something we're finding, and this is changing every day, frankly.
And John, before you go ahead, Roy Eureka from Credit Union Times wrote a great story about the first town hall that we did earlier.
Oh.
So that was a really good story.
Oh,
So,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. So we thank the Credit Union Times for giving us the press, but really, you know, this is about you guys. So we want to make sure you can talk, but that's awesome. And thank you, Mike, for helping us with that. So you'll see here, this is Zoom's chat feature. And as you can see, if you're watching this and you're seeing me in the middle here, or you're seeing the presentation or however that looks, if you kind of scroll down at the bottom, you'll see there's this little bar and we've circled where the chat is. And over on the right, if you click that, it'll bring up a little window for chat. And then down at the bottom is where you can directly communicate with someone privately, or you can communicate in the main room. What we'd like you to do now, just take a minute and please check in and let us know if you want to speak or not. And if you'll just put it out to everyone so we can sort through that while I go through a couple more slides. So please just hit the chat and let us know you're here. And let us know if you're willing to speak, and we'll make sure that we got you queued up. There is a forum. This is actually where I'm going to post the information about electrostatic cleaning from Robert at Wistera, Robert Barr, who was nice enough to share that with us immediately after the last meeting. And we encourage you to go in here and sign up and have discussions. Mike's in there, I'm in there. There's already some good discussion going, but this is a place we can keep that talk going if you want to. So it's pretty easy to find. It's our CU Digital Town Hall. So if you go right on our site, big-fintech.com, it's the first thing you'll see on the page. So a couple things that I've seen, and I want to make a couple introductions. We have more than a few of our guests here. We have Tim Tibbles, who is our data scientist. We have Kevin Sarber, who is the president of BIG, and also former SVP of a very large credit union, a lot of experience in call centers, ATMs, and all the electronic delivery channels. We have Kirk Ketelewski, former Bethpage CEO. So we'll probably have them chime in a bit if we get time, but really this is the focus on you. But as we were talking, Kevin and I wanted to share a couple things that really worked for us in the past 2008 downturn. And the first one is, what simple thing can you watch for to predict that a member may soon have trouble paying their loans, or maybe be in financial jeopardy? And the answer is not remote deposit, it's actually direct deposit. I need to get this fixed. But it's direct deposit. So if a member has direct deposit, they're steadily getting paychecks and they suddenly don't, you've got to reach out to them right away. And what we found is the quicker you reach out to them when this happens, whoever reaches out first is going to be the one that is able to give them some help. Secondly, they don't always reach out on their own. So a lot of people are ashamed. They're dealing with other things. And so you have to be proactive in this if you want to survive it. And we believe that this is the best indicator that something has gone wrong. So we hope that you have the ability to do this, to be able to go out and check on the direct deposits as to whether they stop. It's a fairly simple report, but we do have expertise here. One of the things, quite obviously we're struggling with at BIG is a lot of the processes and things that we work on, the projects are not critical anymore. So we have some capacity, and certainly if you need to help with something like this, this is something Tim Tibbles can do in his sleep for most credit unions. So if you're needing some of this reporting stuff, we'd be happy to help. Just reach out to us. Second one is Skip a Pay. If you have a Skip a Pay or any kind of payment defer program, now's the time to really just unleash it. If it's seasonal for some reason, it should probably be brought back to life. We've heard a lot of credit unions who are waiving fees for this. If it's not automated or electronic, you may want to look into that. That's something we have some expertise in, is driving this into the mobile app, driving this into the home banking app. But it is a huge win for the membership, especially if you're struggling or if you're on a hiatus or furlough or whatever's happened to you as a result of this catastrophe or pandemic. It's nice to see, hey, if you have a car, maybe 2 cars with the credit union, somewhere probably around $300 to $700 that you could skip for a month, that's a huge win. And right now, as people start to lose their jobs. So we may have some time on this just because that's starting to ramp up, but we think this is something that would be valuable. I wanted to share a little bit of the communication we're seeing from other credit unions. Probably the #1 thing we're seeing right now is credit unions closing their lobbies. in favor of their drive-throughs. And that's interesting because we know that some areas, in particular California, maybe New York, drive-throughs aren't a thing. And so what are they going to do? We had some interesting ideas from the last one, which we're going to be publishing. One credit union was using the night drop, and they started processing the night drop every couple hours. So people could go in or make deposits or do things through the night drop, including waiving fees. So that was interesting. Shared branching was another interesting approach for those that didn't have drive-throughs. So there was some discussion around that, and I'm sure we'll have some incredible discussion today. Whole point is that Tim Tibbles, our data scientist, is going to be sending a survey to you. And what we're trying to do is collect what people are doing in response to this so that we can share it with all of you for free. So we asked that you fill out that survey. If you do, you can see all the results. That way you can see what others are doing, maybe in your market or across the nation, to understand maybe, you know, we all look to each other for help, and that's what this is about. So that's a further extension of that to try to collect that data. So we hope you'll do that. So with that in mind, we're going to go to our first credit union, which I believe is going to be Blue Eagle, if I'm right. Let's see, Ryan, do you have?
Yeah, we have someone from All In Credit Union here as
okay.
well.
We just had someone from All In last one. That's awesome. Welcome back. I'm not sure who's here. What's the name?
1 second. Sorry, it's my first. Maybe we
Okay,
don't.
so okay. All right. Well, let's go to.
I think Blue Eagle is a good place to start.
Okay, we'll start with Blue Eagle. So if you're here from Blue Eagle, if you don't mind unmuting, and you know, if you're okay with sharing, we'd like to give you 5 minutes to tell us what's going on. We see you're in Roanoke, Virginia. All right. Does it look like we're struggling there with maybe the something there? So let's see who's ready to go. Who would like to go? Gary, you want to go? Start off there.
Sure, I can go.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary.
Sure. So I also got some information from some other credit unions that I'm a member of, First Tech and the other, I can't remember the other one. Their branches are open at United.
Well, Gary, first just real quick, introduce yourself.
So I'm Gary Coates. I'm the Information Management Solutions Manager for United Community Credit Union in Portland, Oregon.
Awesome. Go ahead, Gary. Sorry, I just want to make sure people knew who you were.
No worries. So as we know, it's changing every day, and this is a fluid situation. So we've closed our lobbies, and we're only doing drive-up transactions. Apparently, there are long lines, and so we're having people that are kind of trying to direct traffic and communicate with the people that are in their cars, so that we can get as many people through as possible. The drive-up tellers are using gloves, and they're wiping the counter down. I believe that they're wiping down the tubes after each transaction. Just doing, taking all the advice to sterilize things as much as possible for anything that gets contacted with a person. Another interesting update is no communal food to be shared, even at the branch, because there's a few people at each branch. We're encouraging
so the
people not to
traditional credit union potluck is out the window. That's how I got lunch for the 10 years I worked at Suncoast every day, was whatever potluck I could find. So that makes
you're
sense.
on your own now, my friend.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also to let HR know if anybody's feeling sick or if they've come in contact with anybody that's traveled to a level 3 travel advisory location by the CDC. We're encouraging people not to use mass transit, to the people that do have to go to the branches. All back office people are working remotely, so I'm working remotely. What else is in our latest update?
It's interesting to hear the drive-throughs are packed. Are you finding people removing money? We're starting to hear a lot of people who are withdrawing large sums of money, and some credit unions are limiting that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that there have been some people. I don't know for sure what we're telling them. But we have heard that there's some people doing that because there's a fear of a run on the banks. The other thing was the governor closed our schools through April 28th. So all of the remote workers and the branch situation, so we dispersed some of our contact center people and we'll redeploy tellers and member advocates in the branches to mainly be on the phone. That's going to extend now through May 2nd, which was just announced yesterday.
Okay.
Those are the major changes.
Yeah, those are interesting. One thing just to throw out there, we talked about in the last meeting was messaging to members to bring their own wipes to clean the ATMs before they use them. And so that was, we had that discussion yesterday, and kind of where we landed was making it kind of on the members' behalf, because there's just no chance of us being able to do it. So just encouraging them to clean those surfaces before they use them. So, well, Gary,
yeah,
thank
so
you.
I shared that. I shared that from the last one, last meeting with our people. I haven't heard back if they've deployed that yet or not.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big one. So, by the way, if some of you may have just jumped in, if you have just jumped in, please go into the chat and announce yourself in the everyone chat, and let Ryan or Melissa, Ryan Best or Melissa, know if you plan to speak. So there's a lot of phone numbers, so it's hard for us to tell who's who. So it'd be really helpful if you could go into the everyone chat and just, or message Ryan or Melissa directly. If you don't want to speak, that's fine. If you're just here to listen, that's okay too. So we're going to go to Gary. You said you had some information about some other credit unions. You want to share?
Yeah, First Tech, they sent an email from their CEO that their branches are open. The other credit union was.
They're open in terms of the lobby?
That's what they indicated in the email that they sent.
Okay.
With distancing, and the other credit unions On Point here in Portland, their branches are also open.
Okay.
Interestingly.
Interesting.
And encouraging members to use ATMs. The other thing On Point did, Unitas, we've extended our hours to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on through online and the call center. Interestingly, On Point has cut their hours to 9 to 4 Monday through Friday and 9 to 1 on Saturday.
Huh.
Not sure the logic there.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you, Gary, and thanks for your update, and thanks for coming again. And
you're
I
welcome.
know you bring value, and I'll say it again, Gary's a longtime friend of mine. He's also someone that if you reach out to him, he give you the shirt off of your back, his back, not your back, but his. He'll absolutely help you. So reach out to him on the chat, and I know he loves to communicate. He believes in this as well. So highly recommend you.
We're all here to help each other.
Yeah, that's all we can do. So thank you, Gary.
Yeah,
all right, we're going to
thanks,
go to Alaska, USA next. And so I'm going to back through that, and not sure who we have here from Alaska.
Keith.
Oh, hi, Keith.
Keith Taylor.
Keith, welcome. And yeah, if you're okay with, you guys are a huge credit union. If you're here, and obviously in an interesting place, I really haven't looked at stats. So you got 5 minutes to, share anything or ask any questions or whatever you think is pertinent.
Okay. Well, hello. I really wasn't prepared to speak to anything. I was just kind of jumped on the call to get as much information as I could.
Okay. No worries.
But
we could go ahead.
I was just going to say, similar to what I've heard here. We've reduced lobby hours. We've got a pretty robust pandemic plan that we're going through and executing. Various stages. We're escalating through those. Things are really kind of crazy and changing moment by moment. I work in on the technology side of the house, and so we've started to really accelerate our remote workforce. It's testing our infrastructure, and honestly, I'm looking at it as we've not had a formal work from home policy before, and I'm looking at this as an opportunity to really shine and show that it is possible. We can still get work done. We can still collaborate and hopefully, you know, find new opportunities to work differently in the future.
That's awesome. Now, are you, just a quick question on that. I'll get a little tech here for a second, but, you know, in a couple meetings ago, we found credit unions who were rapidly ordering laptops for deployment for home users, and Dell had apparently told a couple of them that they were going to be on back order for some time. And then we had also heard from some credit unions who were going to use basically virtual and let people use their own home PCs to sort of log in. Can you share a little bit about what you're thinking there?
Yeah, so we've probably a combination of all that is what we've looked at. Actually, our operations department's done a fantastic job identifying folks that currently have laptops and redistributing them to people who may not have setups at home or in some of the more critical job functions. So yeah, and we've also have run into, you know, some of the challenges of shortages of equipment as well. Like I said, it's accelerating some plans that we had on the books to do in the future. So, you know, we've got VPNs getting set up. We've got a Citrix environment that folks are able to log into. So lots of options. You know, it's making our InfoSec department a little bit nervous because things are moving quickly, and
Yeah.
you know, we're having to open up some access that we, you know, maybe a little bit more than we normally would.
You know, not to, actually, I was going through the same thing with Premier America with Janaki Rao there. And one of the things that we kind of came up with is I am actually going to do a little testing for him because I've got a lab here at home. Just make sure, try to hack around it a little bit, make sure that there isn't any split level VPN or DNS going in. So if you can find someone to do that, that's great. If you want help, let me know. Happy to do it. Because I've got a separate couple different, I've got a Mac, I've got a Windows 10, and I've got my own spot. Sorry about the dogs, we're all at home here, so it is what it is. I'd like to try to get rid of it, but yeah, I think I love that you're using this as an opportunity to shine, and I think that's fantastic. And I know I've been out to Juneau, I've met at your credit union. It's a fantastic place, beautiful area. And I know that employees and everyone are going to appreciate all that you're doing. So thank you for coming today, and I hope you get other answers that you're looking for.
Thank you, and thanks for the time.
No problem. I believe we're going to have, for the next one here, we're going to have, oh good, Brian and Andrew from our community credit union. If you guys could unmute, and we'd love to hear from you if you're.
I think we have both of them here, so I'm not. Again, it's hard with all the phone. We have a lot of phone callers today, but Andrew's still on mute.
Okay. How about Brian? All right. So.
Here, how about? Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you. No problem. Thank you so much.
Hi, hey, this is Andrew at our community credit union.
Great. How
So,
you doing, man? I haven't talked to you in a while. Andrew
Hey,
Virgil.
good.
That's the Andrew it is.
Yeah, trying to, a lot like you were talking about at the beginning with the canary in the coal mine. That's our primary focus has been trying to preempt, what members might be doing and being underemployed. That's one thing too. Looking at just their ACH payments coming in, if it's less than what they're getting before, maybe they got a different job, or maybe they're getting some kind of severance or some kind of unemployment pay. But we followed suit, basically like what Unitas was talking about. We started a pandemic plan last week. We closed all of our lobbies. We were doing appointment only, one-to-one, which actually haven't had very many members wanting to do that. Two of our branches that did not have drive-ups, we converted into temporary call centers. So actually, I was just talking with the team today, and it's like, hey, you know what? You guys really kicked butt. Like, we set up 2 call centers. We set up like 10 laptops with all the VPN, everything like that, and all in one day. So it was great to get that done. Although, and has anyone else had this where there's no VPN tokens left from firewall vendors?
So are you using, so people are running in, talking about the physical tokens?
Yeah, physical or software tokens. We were getting them through BAA systems for RSA tokens. So we've actually started a project which we weren't going to do till the end of the year, putting together a unified access gateway for our virtual desktops, so that we can do a DMZ with that, and then allow users to use their home computers and connect up to the virtual desktop.
Wow. So they're even running out of software tokens.
Yeah.
So,
We've actually
that
had
would
to
seem
pull
like
some
it's
back
a,
vendors.
yeah, that would seem like then it's like a 32 or a 64-bit limitation, like 60. I don't want to get into the numbers, but that's really wild.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My understanding in this situation is that they're short on staff and they just can't fulfill the order. That they
Okay.
sent them all home and shut down their facilities.
See, that's something,
Yeah,
that's
there
one
was-
of those things you can't plan for in the pandemic response is your VPN provider disappearing.
Right. Yeah. And even, quotes coming in through for some things we want to, get going right away, ordering some SD-WAN devices, firewall devices, things like that. Everybody's slowing down. Even our after-hours call center basically shared that, don't fully rely on us. So I kind of like the idea of doing the extending hours for the call center, but we haven't got very many calls past 6 p.m. and we've been tracking. So we were all about data. So we've been tracking what time the calls are coming in, who's doing the calls, and that kind of information to try to kind of see what's going on. But we just closed the lobbies starting Wednesday, so we don't really have enough information to know if we're going to reduce staffing or anything like that.
Interesting. Yeah. One thing too on the that we're seeing is a lot of people are finding that with everybody moving remote, some of their out or inbound or ingress bandwidth isn't enough. One thing to look at for that would be products that do deduping, like Silver Peak or Riverbed, I think was the name of it. Just getting technical here for a minute, but you may want to consider that. That's another thing that I was helping Johnny with is basically measuring the amount of bandwidth that a soft phone call would take and the screen so that we can have some idea of if you send 500 people home, what kind of impact they're going to have on, especially when you think about VPNs doubling and tripling the size of the packets that go through.
Right.
So,
Yep. And we put communication out to staff even here because, of course, once we closed the lobbies, we saw a lot more web traffic and videos and things like that. So we've had to put a kibosh on those type of things, including one thing that's
you mean they
unique
can't
to
watch
us. At
Netflix
least.
all day? That's weird.
Right. Yeah. One thing that's unique to us is, the way that our call center and everything is hooked up. We have a max of 60 concurrent phone lines that can be used up. So we had our network engineer put a free PBX box in front of that to handle additional call volumes. So we put that in front as an overflow so that they at least get a message and put them in a queue that pops them into our regular call.
Did you say free?
Yeah, a free
As in
PBX box.
FREE? Who is it?
The server wasn't free. Well, the server wasn't free, but the software is free. It's called Free PBX.
Ah, all right. So open source stuff, I like it.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're doing is queuing in front of that and hook flash transfer into the regular PBX, but you can get more calls going.
Yep. Because we're starting to max out on that now that we're transitioning towards a call center.
I thought about that.
Basically
What's the maximum number of call center lines? That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you. That's very good information. Anything in particular you're looking to hear while you're here? There's somebody just posted some good information. Lynn Thompson really worried me a minute ago because my mother-in-law's named Lynn Thompson and she works at a bank. So I thought, oh my God, she found me. But it sounds like you guys have you're cranking down that same road, and there's like I said, there's so many good ideas out there. So, but I did not know about the token thing, so that's good to know.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm just looking for alternatives for the token thing, basically.
Well,
right
I
now.
mean, you could try Authy. You might be able to get something like
Yeah.
Google Authentication or something working. Usually there's some third-party stuff. I don't know what VPN you're working with, but there might be some options that way to look into. You could always hack it and then just make
Right.
it go to another page or a page and put in the number and make sure it's them and then let them in. I don't know. Yeah, happy to talk to you. You know, love you guys. Happy to talk to you offline. I know you're near Washington and out that area, so definitely in the epicenter. And hopefully everybody's safe. And thank you for taking the time to come today.
All right, yeah, thank you.
All right. So who do we have next here? We're
Well,
gonna
it looks like Brian said that they switched to Office 365 in the Authenticator app as well.
okay.
But next we have Jacqueline Gonzalez from USEagle Federal Credit Union.
Great. So Jacqueline, if you can unmute.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
I can hear you. And Jacqueline, if you don't mind, we have your information up. I believe you were on yesterday, or pardon me,
Yeah.
Wednesday. So welcome back. And if you can just tell everybody, some people are here that weren't here before. So if you can just tell them who you are, and happy to check in again.
Yeah, perfect. My name is Jacqueline. I'm the member experience manager. Basically, I'm the manager of the call center up here in our credit union. Some of the things that recently changed for us is we will be moving to lobby, only allowing individuals in the lobby by appointment, and going straight to just drive up transactions only. We are moving those that are in branch to our queue, so their phones will be assigned to our call center queue so that they can still work from their branches, so they can be there for appointments, but when they're not taking appointments, we can put them in the queue to support our call volume. We've also moved 3 of our employees who were pregnant to working remotely now, so that's something that we really took into consideration to keep them safe. And we also have our pop-up call center, so we split up our call center between 2 branches for social distancing purposes, and that's running pretty smoothly right now too. We also are doing a relief loan. Our relief loan basically doesn't take any qualification other than the fact that they've had loss of income, or that they're just struggling right now. We are doing anywhere from $300 up to $5,000. We're taking into consideration what their income looks like and don't want to go over what they bring home in a month. And their payment and interest are deferred for the first 90 days. Of course, that's subject to change depending on how things go. We also are moving, we're doing deferments on loan payments, so we're going to be advancing everyone to not being due until June, I believe. It'll be up to them if they want to continue to make the payments, but if not, they won't have a payment until June. And we're waiving, automated fees such as checking account fees, business analysis fees, NSF fees, any type of fees that they would normally be charged. We're really just trying to get away from them.
So I had a question, but Lynn Thompson asked if you're willing to share your guidelines on the relief loan. So
yeah, we definitely
that might
can.
be something to do together. So maybe if you could reach out to her in the chat there. But one of my quick questions, and Kevin brought this up earlier, is anybody considering allowing people to break CDs yet?
We are. So we've actually, we have waived any penalty when it comes to CDs. We are also, if individuals are needing to withdraw from their IRA, if it's a CD IRA, we're not doing any penalties on that. We're also trying to get away from signatures as much as possible. So things that we would normally need signatures on, we are looking to avoid having to obtain them in any way possible.
That makes sense. Yeah, you don't want people having to come in. You might, so one of the things that folks were talking about too was using like HelloSign and some of those free tools if you're not already using them on those things. So good. And it seems like New Mexico, it's not high on the outbreak list. So are you expecting sheltering in place or anything like that?
I'm not expecting it right now. We just moved to our 45th case, if I remember correctly. So I don't anticipate it, but who knows?
Well, that makes sense. Well, thank you again for coming a second time, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
All right. So a lot of people doing our credit union talking about no early withdrawals. So if you're not monitoring the group chat, highly recommend that you do, because there's a lot of good switch going back in there, some answers to some questions. Gary even was letting me know that he is building the the direct deposit report, and we'll share it. So they're working on that, getting that report together out at Unitas, which is great. Ryan, who do we have next?
It looks like we have Aaron Beldner from FIRSTLIGHT FCU.
Awesome. I'll go find First Light. And Aaron, if you don't mind unmuting. There we go.
I believe he's here.
Give him a second. He might be trying to find the mute.
Yeah, it looks like he called in. So, and if you know, I think we're gonna have to check on these callers eventually because it seems like we're running out of people. But once we reach the end of the list, we'll kind of. I think we should ask.
Well, we're gonna have some other folks speak, but I wanted to read. Lynn wrote a nice note, and I was just gonna read it out loud. She's not gonna talk because she has a baby at home, and the baby likes to talk, although I might enjoy hearing that. She says, the time has made me proud to be a member and employee of a credit union. Like many, we put as many people as possible to work from home. And she is with, which credit union was it, Ryan? Lynn Thompson? I think it was On Tap, right? Yep, On Tap. We've closed our lobbies except for by appointment. In some areas, we weren't able to have a back office department work from home, like lending. So we've also seen a drastic drop in loan applications. We are rotating that staff so we can keep our admin building at 10 or less in the building at one time. So pleased to say that our credit union is making staff whole regardless of the number of hours they end up working. I imagine many credit unions will be taking the same stance. That's true. We have heard that in these meetings, and that is fantastic. We've also heard that many are letting people go into a deficit for PTO. What I haven't heard yet, and I'm sure we will hear this soon, is the first staff to be diagnosed, you know, and it'll be interesting, you know, it'll be interesting to think about that as time goes on, because one of the things that I think we all know will happen is once somebody gets it, everybody around that person is going to be quarantined. So that's certainly of concern. Do we have anybody else who hasn't spoken who would like to speak? If you don't mind, just hitting the everyone, and we'll get you on here. If not, I may talk a little bit about some things we heard about in the previous ones, and also give Kevin Sarber and Kirk Korleski a little chance to talk. But if you haven't spoken, you want to speak, please just type into the main. I know Helen is driving, and so we just want to share information. We're thankful to have her on the phone. But is there anyone else? Brian, okay. So Brian, if you want to unmute.
Hello, I'll just echo, this is Brian Killingsworth with Oregon Community Credit Union, the other OCCU.
Yeah, I had two OCCUs, you're right.
Yeah, so I would echo much of what everyone else is saying. We, you know, fired up our incident response team about a week or so ago, a little more than a week or so ago. We also set up some kind of, I guess I would call it subgroups as well. So to focus on remote worker experience, what we were going to do from the finance and lending side, how we were going to address branch operations going forward. You know, kind of some of the things too around instituted or dropped most of our fees for skip a pay, breaking CDs early, some loan forgiveness, you know, dropping rates down to nothing, dropping our fees. Fee reduction has been an initiative of ours anyway over the past 6 months or so. But we're looking to see what other fees we can reduce. Sent as many people as home from the back office as possible, and then we started ordering. Kind of saw this coming, or the likelihood of this coming, a couple of weeks ago. So sent them some early orders for additional equipment. Also having some people use home PCs with our Citrix environment. Also put in some additional orders for basically used laptops from one of our vendors. It was super nice, reached out and said, hey, I've got these, let me know, you know, if you want them, and because they're going quickly. So I pulled the trigger on ordering some of those. And so really kind of just a gamut approach. We have gone to limited lobby as well, actually starting tomorrow.
So is limited lobby where you won't let more than X amount of people in, or is it by appointment?
It's by appointment.
Okay.
Drive-ups
That makes more
only.
sense.
Drive-ups only for anyone else. We have not deployed those staff yet to call center, although it's something we're thinking about. We're also thinking about just using them almost for like well member calls, just to see how some of our members are doing. Maybe that might be kind of at risk, just some proactive outreach that way. So just kind of, again, I guess it kind of sounds like what everyone's doing right now more than anything.
Well, I think it's still good to say, because inside of that, what we're finding is everybody grabs one, everybody's doing about the same thing, but there's always like one or two things that somebody else is doing that adds to everyone else. And so, yeah, don't hold back.
Call center, we are looking at we would have to add some licenses there to do that. So we're balancing out, how high the demand is going to be for call center once things kind of die down versus providing service. So, kind of have that, I guess, in our back pocket to a certain extent. And just monitoring systems to make sure they don't go down with remote work. But again, got as many people out working remotely. People, I think, are really taking to it, doing the best they can. It's great to see how everyone chips in to try and get the job done and keep serving our members.
Yeah, it's like I said in the last one, there's no one I'd rather go to battle with than my credit union peeps. We are fantastic in a foxhole, and I known that for every credit union I've ever worked at and everyone I've ever worked with. So that's great to hear that everybody's pulling together on that, because it's tough times. I will say we may have a revolt on our hands when we try to bring them back, especially once they realize pants are optional. So that's going to be a thing, I think. Well, I mean, it's shorts, right? I mean, you don't know what Mike's wearing. You can only see him from the head down. So, but that, I think that's going to be a challenge, honestly, as we go forward. But it's good to hear how people have retooled so quickly and they're reutilizing these tools that were already there. Because what we couldn't have predicted about this, I don't know about most everyone else, but when you do these business resumption plans, you're always thinking about regional versus national, and the global one is always usually like aliens come and everybody just gives up. But you never know, and so this one being so global and having such or at least national plus a global level has really changed things. So thank you for sharing. Thanks for taking the time.
You bet.
All right, so Helen said she would speak for a minute from Credit Union of Denver, I believe.
Denver Community Credit Union?
Denver Community, excuse me, I'm sorry. I had a different one in my head.
That's okay, it's not confusing. So I was driving because I ran to the branch to pick up my plants. Because I actually do think that we could see a shelter-in-place order somewhat soon. I mean, I'm just guessing. That's not the credit union's official line. I had some questions, but I shared a link in the chat of a great training. It's 60 minutes long. It's a little long, but it really was very good about managing remotely, especially, and it addresses the fact that we are all doing this very quickly and that this is because of the crisis that we're doing it. So it's very upfront and very relatable and gives some really great tips to how to keep your team together, because I manage almost entirely back office.
Okay.
And got moved on Friday and Monday, which I'm grateful for because it's protection from my staff, but we had to move fast and we're learning very quickly how to get everyone up and running. I was in the branch parking lot and a gentleman stopped me and his HR just told him he had to do direct deposit and he refuses to use the internet. So I learned that.
Another one of our Colorado brethren.
Idea. What was that?
I said another one of our Colorado family here. He probably was also in line to get the 9mm ammo. I don't know about you, but we've had lines out of all the places to buy 9mm ammo. So.
Yeah, so I went ahead and added the routing number to our main fact page, and I was curious. I had a couple. Well, one, we are loving Microsoft Teams. We were going to launch it in May, and now we are launching it as we go. We are really enjoying that. But I wanted to ask the group, one, if they have found what the most frequently asked questions are for their contact center, because we're looking at developing something there. And also, is anyone doing both the skip a pay and deferment? Because we're doing deferment right now, but we had a member call in who was fully employed, just wanted to skip their payment just in case. And we didn't have anything for a person not experiencing hardship. So I was curious if people were doing both.
Jacqueline from New Mexico says she's doing both. So you might reach out to her. It's Jaclyn.
I see. And Jacqueline, if you don't mind putting the check in the chat, are you charging for the skip or are you not charging for either? Okay, cool. Thanks.
And then Andrew answered, we do 2 skips, waive fees, no hardship required. So that's good to know.
Okay. That is helpful. And we are doing our temporary loan also, so we have both options.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people would be interested in what people's guidelines are for the loans. So it may be something that would be worthwhile to share. Seems like
hardship and 2 times net income. So
okay. Temporary loan for our credit union is 90 days, no payments, 500 to 5,000. Interesting. Yeah, I think that those relief loans are going to be so helpful. One of the things we talked about in one of the previous ones is to help members maybe put that $1,000 into your credit union, and also to encourage people with maybe some debit or credit rewards to use community and local people to keep eating out so that we don't have more people lose their jobs. Because even though our membership may not include people from those segments, in the family unit, there are people from those segments. And, America by and large has become a 2-income home. And so with that in mind, it may be useful to patronize those, and the Crayons, I think, would be in a good spot to do that. Lynn also shared that she is that they do the skips, but we don't say that in our messaging. So very good. This is exactly what we want, is to get sharing out there. So that's excellent. Any other questions? Oh, here's your frequently asked questions. Is my money safe? Are you sick? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's a good one. Can I skip my payment? Are you offering a relief loan, and are your lobbies open? Yeah, that's something you may want to put in the head end of your call center in a recording or something. Is the other thing we talked about in the other meeting was making sure that folks who are using shared branching are updating the co-op, so that if people are coming to your branch on behalf of other credit unions, or if you're part of that, that they know what the real hours are and what the times are. We're finding some trouble there. And then Andrew, Andrew had a question about Fedline and remote workers, and I want to make a point on Fedline before he gets there. Anything that's a community PC, you can wipe it down. That's a good plan. Or one of the things I said was just bring your own mouse and your own keyboard. It takes 2 seconds to plug in, and then it's just yours. And so that's an option as well. That way you're not reusing the same keyboard and the same mouse. You may want to do that with tellers, even if they're using these community things. So everybody gets their own mouse and keyboard. Keep things to yourself. Helen, thank you so much. Was there any other questions?
Not for me.
Awesome. Andrew, do you want to open up again and ask your question about Fedline and remote workers? I know Fedline is a difficult thing to do remote. In fact, it can't be done remote usually. So.
Yeah, hey, so we've come up with a couple different solutions, but we don't know how viable they are yet until we really test it. We currently, our accounting department is not remote for this reason, but because Fedline, you can't leave the physical token in the machine that's at the branch and then remote into it. It also doesn't work very well over VPN networking unless you do USB pass-through, which you need IPsec tunnel and some other technologies like that, or you can basically fake the IP address by the MAC on the PC that you're using to think that it's at the branch. I'm just wondering what other solutions people have had, or if they found a golden solution or something that just works great. Because right now
Hopefully the
it's
Fed's
really
not on this call, because your Mac spoofing would make them really excited.
yeah. I'm just saying, that's a hypothetical, John.
Yeah, it's a great
hypothetical.
question. It's a great question. Has anybody else figured out remote Fed line? I don't think anybody probably has, because it's so, they want that thing air gapped and locked up. Helen's asking her accounting on Microsoft Teams, which she's excited about. Microsoft Teams, we've been using Teams for years. We love Teams. We're big Teams fans. So Teams also does a lot of really cool stuff. Like you can integrate it with all kinds of things. It's start creating bots to answer those frequently questions. That would be nothing to do. You could have a bot that would say, okay, what do you say when somebody asks if the lobbies are open? You could just say, what lobby, you just type in lobbies and it would pop it out there. So, oh, okay. So he has the Fed line installed on laptops and they can use the Fed keys from home.
Okay, so must be doing USB pass.
Contact with Helen. Andrew.
Yeah, Unitas, we set up another branch, mainly as a backup for a second Fed line in case the main one in the main office, somebody got sick there and we couldn't use that area. So we just did that as a backup.
Okay. So hopefully you two will connect, Helen and Andrew. And then I guess what I would say, if no one else, is there anyone else that wants to speak? If not, I was going to hand it over to Tim. We actually have been surveying everybody, and he was going to share some of those results. But if anybody else wants to talk, I'd rather give them that shot before we hand it over to Tim. We have this scheduled for 2 hours, but hasn't really been taking that long. But I want to make sure everybody gets their questions answered or has the opportunity to speak if they want to. By the way, these are great discussions also to have in our forum if you haven't signed up. So if you want to go out to the forum, and don't forget that this entire thing will be published, but the chat won't. So we'll have to work that out, but there's things we can do around that. All right. It doesn't look like anyone else wants to chat. So Tim, you want to give us some feedback on what we're seeing from the reporting?
Sure. Can you let me share?
I will. There you go, bud. All you. And Mike, if you have any thoughts, love to hear from you as well.
So just a reminder, this is the reason why we're doing the surveying, is to be able to create a good communication method to be able to show people what everybody's doing, because everybody's asking. The first thing is we ask, how are you managing this within your organization? A little over half of the people said that they have a multifunctional pandemic response team. The other half, or a quarter of people, I was kind of surprised, said that they have no team identified at this point to manage it. Something you might want to be able to put in place just to be able to get through this stuff. The others were just a variety of responses. As far as limiting traffic in branches, 41% responded that they are pure drive-up only, and then the rest of them are really, besides a couple that closed all the branches or have no branches, are a combination of letting people come into the office, into the branch through appointments only, that type of thing. So the bulk of it is just drive-up only. As far as if you have branches or limiting branches, what percentage of your branches were impacted? 3/4 of the group said that 75% or more, or 76% or more of their branches were impacted. So they're doing it pretty much across the board. Other thing we ask is how are people trying to figure out how people are impacted by job layoffs, essentially. So they're tracking direct deposit interruptions. 50% of the people have not discussed this as an option, but 33% of the people are doing that. And then the other third of that is considering whether that they should be doing it or not. So roughly half the people are probably going to go down that path. The other people that haven't discussed it may come up now that it's been brought up. Now, as far as offering skip a payment, everybody is, or 58% of the people are promoting it to all their members. And then the other 33% are offering it to people that ask for it. And then there was one offer right now that, or one credit union said that they decided not to offer skip a pay loan. So maybe they're doing something else in replacement of that.
And Tim, we may want to add in the deferment versus the skip.
Right. The other question, which got a variety of answers, I offered an other option in this question. So it was that the bulk of the people, or that frontline only, were using protective gear for their personnel. The rest of it is, and there's one group said that all staff are doing it, and then the rest of it is essentially optional. Two people or two credit unions decided that they were not offering out any kind of protective gear to their staff. So it looks like pretty much it's optional, or they're requiring it for the bulk of it, or offering it to front lines. So as far as people sending out COVID-19 communications to members, it looks like everybody is. One group said that they are doing it only on the website, so 91%. Tracking infected members, most groups have not discussed this as far as doing it. The other decided not to do it. Two groups are considering to do it. And then we had one group that said that if they were going to, that they'd do it if they encountered somebody, but right now they haven't encountered anybody. So then we got down to the kind of the open line question of all the different things that people had recommended up to the point on the other phone calls that we've had, the other town halls that we've had. So we put this in a list, sent it out, and this is the results of what people are doing. So the one that had the highest number of results was that they're encouraging use of ATMs. They're also encouraging use of digital channels, as well as encouraging social distancing within their staff members. The next highest results were these, we're encouraging social distance with members. So I'm not sure if anybody has any feedback on what that means for their individual institutions, but that probably some distance as far as like people standing so far apart in line, also not letting a whole bunch of people gather in one location, I would imagine is what that means. The next one is that they're waiving skip-a-pay fees. And the next one is encouraging splitting up employees into multiple locations, which makes a lot of sense. Then we have, the variety of, it's about 50% on a lot of these other things. I'll go through a couple of these real quick. And so cleaning the tube carriers on a regular basis, cleaning up their ATMs on a daily basis, the waiving early CD withdrawal penalties, changing hours of operation for members. So about half are doing that, exactly half. Offering emergency relief loans on a daily basis. For members that are having issues, and then relaxing their PTO policies and encouraging self-quarantine of people that feel that they might be sick. Then this last one down here is working with the local credit union league to be aware of what's going on. So we'll summarize this in a little bit better, easier way to read this. This is just Google's tool that we use to do the survey. And please, if you have not received an email from me, directly from me, it may be due to some email filtering, either on our domain or just because maybe I send out too many emails. I would love to be able to get more than just 12 responses on this at this point. I sent it out to about 70 people so far. So I would love to see that response rate to get up there so that we can have a little bit fuller view of what's going on in the industry. So thank you so much. Any questions?
We can include a link to this in the forum as well, if it's not there currently. So
yeah, that's true. And if you actually do the survey, you'll receive an email that actually has a link to the summary responses. And you can also update your responses if you're changing your strategy through that link.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tim. Well, I think we've got Doug here. I thought Doug joined. Doug, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, John.
Great. So Doug is our sponsor. So Doug, I just wanted to give you a chance. One, thank you for enabling this for us. And wanted to just check in with you. I know you've been on several of these.
Yeah, thanks. No, I would say I really like all the conversation. Tim, I was going to say, reach out to you if you could send me the link to the survey. I will send it out to our credit union. We'll have it sent out directly to our credit unions independent of the town hall here to get a broader input. Early on, John, you mentioned about share branching, which obviously near and dear to our heart. And one of the things that I would bring up that we've been going back and forth with is a lot of credit unions, as we know, have had to shut down their lobbies and move transactions to the drive-ups. But some of the credit unions are choosing not to provide services to guest members. And we're getting a lot of feedback that those guest members, you know, if credit unions have done that, if you would really consider serving those guest members. And another thing that we're hearing in some cases is that the members are just staying away from the branches. So in some cases, like I said, the influx of members isn't there. So maybe it is more likely that those members could actually be served for both the credit unions, core members, as well as share branch and guest members.
It's good to know. And is there something can that be updated in the co-op site if you're choosing not to do that?
Yes, so credit unions reach out to us and we work with co-op to update the website that shows the status of ATMs and share branches. So we're trying to keep that update, working with co-op to keep that updated on a day-to-day basis, because it really is changing. You know, credit union says, well, it's open, but, and then the next day it's like, well, it's just not open. So we keep changing it, keep the members current as to where they can go.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, just one last thought here, or a couple of things. I want to just give a minute to Kirk Kordoleski. Kirk was the CEO of Bethpage, extremely large credit union in Long Island, and guided some folks through these crises. And so I think he's always good to hear, especially in comment on what we heard just currently. So Kirk.
Thanks, John. So I hope everyone is safe and healthy and every.
Kirk, you're in New York right now, right? So you're in the lockdown, the pause.
Man, are we? It's amazing. In 24 hours, John, we went from 50% of the workers not being allowed to show up to 25% to 100%. And that's because the numbers in New York State after they started testing have doubled each of the last 2 days. So we've gone from a handful of accounts, a handful of active viruses to 7,000 in a week. I mean, it's just, and that's the multiplying effect that we're having because of the test. So we've been locked down like California. And if you think about the two largest states in the country, right, economically speaking, maybe not population-wise, being out of work, we're talking about significant, a significant event. And to John's point, you know, and I think what's wonderful about this roundtable and what Mike Lawson's doing is that connecting up the community, the credit union community, to work together is essential right now, because we're going to see an economic situation that's going to be devastating. The market went down by almost another 1,000 points today. It is, we're in for 2 or 3 quarters of really negative numbers, certainly the next month. So what does that mean? We've been through this with the cycle in 08, 09 in New York with Superstorm Sandy and 9/11. And so there are lessons to be learned from it. One of it is doing exactly what we're talking about now, collaborating, working for the team, helping team members out. Can't do anything if they're not comfortable and happy, or at least successful in their work and without stress on them. So all those things about helping them, and then helping members with the tools that everyone's talked about. And then we think, you know, in a week or two, moving on to looking at what financial forecasts are, what strategy could be. And to that point, Bethpage, in the 3 previous down cycles, came out of each one of them with more growth and more brand and higher member support, because what we're doing now is unique in helping people. And what we can do going forward is build digital and data. Some of the things we've talked about, John, you've talked about for 3 years, 5 years. Now, all of that is necessary to serve members. And if we get good at that, we'll be even better coming out the other side of this.
Thanks, Kirk. And be safe out there. Other person, just for a second, because he's always great to hear from, and he is on the opposite side of the coast in a similar situation. So he's on the opposite side of the country from Kirk, is Kevin Sarber. Kevin is former SVP at Westcomp Credit Union. I went through that downturn with him in 2008, and Kevin was instrumental to a lot of things, coming up with plans and really helping the credit union. So I definitely want to give Kevin a quick chance. Kevin?
Thanks, John. And excuse the voice. I've had a little bit of a cold. I don't have the flu, but kind of just echoing Kirk's comments from one coast to the other. You know, we went on full shutdown last night. Only essential services are available, being asked to stay home. And we're struggling with it, I think, as a community. You know, so I think we've talked a lot about the different parts of the country with drive-ups. We don't have that advantage. So as an example, our Westcomp Credit Union is open. Branches are open regular hours. Call centers have actually extended their hours. For a couple of reasons. One, to provide service to members a little bit more in this time of need. But secondly, kind of like they talked about with the virus, is trying to flatten the curve across the hours so that we're not hitting too much peak where we can't handle the volume. So lots of unique challenges. I'm sure that if we continue down this path, most of you are going to see similar actions where you're going to be shut down. So remote workers is the key, and we had some great conversation about things to think about, but being able to work from home, being able to work remotely in other facilities that the credit union has is going to be key as we go forward.
Yeah, I think I'm excited to watch Helen's training video. That's, you know, she's you can see her, she's nodding. I think that you know, this is the key. So, well, I'm going to formally close this unless someone else wants to speak. Thank you, Kevin. We did have him tested. He's virus free, so he just got sick. But I hope everyone here stays safe. As I've said before, a couple things, just closing thoughts from me. Wrapping up, allowing people to break CDs. I thought that was a unique one. The running out of tokens for the organizations, the firewalls, was interesting. Like I said, I think some people are getting ready to do some stuff, and they may want to put this together. I'm gonna talk about that. I think, Mike, you're gonna wrap all this up a little bit too, right?
Yep, indeed. Yeah, based on what Tim has put together as well. So really good information there for sure.
Yeah, I think you're gonna do some sort of release on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Indeed.
And you can interview Tim and go over it too in the longer
love to.
on broadcast.
Love to. And
Microsoft
online as well.
Yeah, products like Microsoft Teams that allow you to take the remote workplace are really valuable. They're not hard to set up, so that was important. And then, like I said, I'd be happy to help people who are trying to test these remote setups. And if you want me to put it in the lab here and just see what the bandwidth is, make sure that I can't split DNS or hack my way out of it, I'd be happy to check that out if that makes anybody feel better. No communal food. That's for you, Mike. And then, in the previous meetings, I really encourage you to go back and watch the videos from the previous ones. There's other good ideas there. We're also taking this, and Glenn Sarvati's going through them and grabbing elements of them and turning that into a podcast that we'll also put out that you can listen to maybe while you drive or work or whatever you need to do. But we're going to continue to do these. There's more next week. There'll be other things that come up. And I think, continuing to share is valuable. So we just can't thank you all enough for showing up today and contributing.
Good stuff, sir. Good stuff.
Thank you, John, for putting these on.
Oh, well, Least we can
Thank
do.
you so much.
All right, take care, everyone. Bye, Helen.
I will see you guys in August or September or whenever the next conference is.
If we have one. Okay.
Yeah.
Taking a year off.
Thanks again, Andrew.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, John.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, are you coordinating with Ryan on these videos and whatnot?
Yeah, I want to post them. I haven't seen. I need to email Ryan and get the links or the file or whatever. And
Actually, they're in the forum. You can just go
Are
grab
they?
them right out of the forum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been. Yesterday, I was swamped. I had like 5 interviews in the morning, and then. But I talked to Stickley this morning. He was really interesting, so I'm going to post that one on Monday.
Yeah, we got lots of people trying to take advantage of this. That's a good point.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I interviewed Amy Downs from Allegiance in Oklahoma. She talked about the parallels between Oklahoma City bombing and this, and
Yep.
and some things that she learned. And so, and Kirk's interview was great. Posted that one today. So yeah, good stuff out there for sure. Lots of help.
Kirk. Oh, Korleski.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Actually, I talked to Kirk Drake the week before, so got all the Kirks. Covered the Kirks.
You got the Kirks all lined.
Got
Perfect. Okay, good. Do you got Tom on tap? Tom Shea?
I'm going to actually email him today and get that all set up for next week.
You're just slammed. It's okay. Cool. All right, man. Well, and Jackie, I'm glad you joined. I hope you enjoyed it. It's good to see you. Sort of. See you as we see you. Jackie is, as you know, responsible for all the amazing graphics that we have here. So.
All right, man. I'll get a scoop.
All right. See you. Bye, everyone.